Hi, I'm Callie Davis, and we're going to be using a data overview to look at some data and information about West Forsyth High School during our math department meeting. So the purpose of a data overview is to improve teaching and learning by looking at data. We will be focusing on years 2012 to 2014. We're going to look at student demographics, AP exams, and the end-of-course test for coordinate algebra. There are 5 major focus points, and you can read along. How do all students at West Forsyth compare with other students in Forsyth County schools? Are all of our students performing at the proficient level on state-mandated tests? Are all of our exceptional students, special education and gifted, being served to maximize their academic successes? What are all of our strengths and areas of needed improvement? How will we help all students find their success? So focus area 1 is looking at changes in student demographics, and we know enrollment is increasing. There are ethnicity changes across the district, and we're also seeing some of that at West Forsyth. And how are our populations changing as far as ESOL, special education, and free and reduced lunch? And what impact could this have on student learning? So across the district, the majority of our students are made up of the white non-Hispanic category. We are seeing an increase in Hispanic and Asian. We see some of the same changes at West Forsyth. The majority of our students are white non-Hispanic, and then our larger second population is going to be Hispanic, with Asian and Black non-Hispanic following. Our ESOL participation throughout the district is around 30%. At West Forsyth, we see the same numbers, around 30%, and had a slight decrease in 2014 to 29%. Special education students make up 4,000 to 5,000 students. We are seeing an increase every year at West Forsyth. We are at 211 students this year. As far as next year for 2015, we anticipate almost 300 students being served in special education. Free and reduced lunch, we are seeing a trend where more students are qualifying for free lunch. We are seeing a reduction in reduced lunch students, so that means that we are having possibly more students in the county that are below poverty level, and it's taking up about 18% of students are free lunch, where only 2 to 4% are free lunch or reduced lunch. At West Forsyth, we're seeing some of the same data. We're seeing an increase in free lunch and reduced number of students for the reduced lunch. So maybe more of them are qualifying for that reduced lunch. So overall, how do our students compare with West Forsyth County schools? They look very similar. We're seeing increases in special needs. Diversity is increasing, but it is slow, but our enrollment is definitely increasing. So our question is, are we prepared to meet the demands of these learners, not only now, but also in the future? So focus points 2 and 3 are looking at meeting the needs of all learners. So are all of our students performing at the proficient level on state-mandated tests, like the end-of-course test in coordinate algebra? And are all of our exceptional students, special education and gifted, being served to maximize their academic successes? We're going to look at advanced placement exams and, of course, the end-of-course test. So the AP exams, we're seeing a really good trend where we have more tests that are being given, more students taking tests, and more students scoring higher. We're seeing that trend across the district as well as at the schools. We're also seeing a trend where we are having twice as many tests given to students. So students are taking 2 and 3 and 4 AP exams, and they are meeting that challenge head on. So we are preparing them as educators, and the students are also stepping up to the task of excelling and having a challenge put in front of them. Looking at the EOCT for coordinate algebra, this was a new test and curriculum, and we do not have data for 2012. It did not come out until 2013. So we have data for 2013, 2014. Across the district, between the 2 years, we only saw a 7% increase, whereas at West Forsyth, we were looking at a 10% increase in the number of students that were meeting or exceeding on this end-of-course test. So if we look at 2013 data, we had about 500 students tested at West Forsyth. About 50% met that performance level, whereas state performance levels, we're only looking at meeting about 30% of those students were meeting that performance level. We saw the high number of students in special ed that fell in the do not meet category, and about 40% of other students. For 2014, the number of do not meet students decreased about 10%. The number of special education students that did not meet the requirements for that test stayed about the same. It was at 80%, and we were at 77 last year. We were at 50% for meets, and the state performance levels stayed consistent. Here are the data for 2013 broken down by demographic category, males and females. We didn't really see a difference as far as the score. Males and females, both 50% were meeting the standard, 44% did not meet. We really wanted to kind of look at the focus on the English language learner and the special education student, where the bulk of those students are falling into that do not meet category. Same thing in 2014. We were looking still at high number of special education students do not meet. We do have less students overall as far as male and female in general in the do not meet category. So that decreased from last year, or 2013. So overall, we had a 10% increase from 2013 to 14 on that EOCT for coordinate algebra for West Forsyth. And for AP exams, the district were looking at 74% of students are scoring a 3 or higher. At West Forsyth, we are only having about 69% of our students scoring a 3 or higher on AP exams. So looking at all of this data, a question for you is going to be, how do we improve learning for all of these students from one end of the spectrum to the other, especially special education and ELL, so that we can increase their success on the coordinate algebra end of course test? So focus point 4 is looking at strengths and needed improvement. So what are all of our strengths and areas of improvement? We're going to look at performance levels, then we're going to look at algebra and functions and algebra connections to statistics and probability. So some good things to look at on this chart is our school is getting averages higher than the state average. So that is definitely a positive. We are moving in the right direction. Our strategies we're using are working to a point. So we are at least there. We are testing over 500 students in 2013 for this EOCT, and we scored on the first one for algebra and functions a 13.3, whereas the state was scoring an 11.8. Now, the district is still scoring a little bit higher than us overall, so as a district is where we need to possibly think about strategies that maybe other schools are doing, other teachers are doing, that we have colleagues and talk to them how their students are receiving the information or what strategies they're using. We're also looking at the algebra connections to statistics and probability, and we are scoring a 6.7, whereas state was 5.8. Now, let's go forward a year, 2014, so the curriculum's not that new anymore. We're still testing 500 students. We are seeing a change in how many questions they have per each topic. So for the algebra and functions, we now have increased to 31 questions. The school managed to get 18 points, whereas state was looking at 15. District is still a little bit higher. So some areas we are definitely looking at focusing on is how are we going to improve algebra and functions, and how can we improve the algebra connections to statistics and probability. Okay, so the summary focus points number 5 is basically everything together. How will we help all students find their success in math at West Forsyth High School? So I want you to think about a couple questions. What strategies have you not tried? What strategies have you used with success? Is your colleague using a strategy with a higher success rate? Have you talked to each other? And I want to leave you with one thought. When trying to change your results, you have to change what you put into your work. Otherwise, you will always get what you've had before. Thank you for your time.